I wasn't gonna do it. I should be working on the TJ or the Land Cruiser, but I'm gonna work on the Mega Cab. And I was gonna do it during the summer. I said do it before winter, but now winter's here and I'm tired of not having a heater. I'm Swall Dog. I like to build cool stuff. Today I'm gonna be working on the Mega Cab and I'm gonna change the heater core and evaporator in this truck. Now, I think it might just be the evaporator for the AC system that's plugged up and causing the AC and the heater not to work not real well, but since I'm gonna have it apart, I'm gonna be changing both of them. The reason I think that, let's jump in here, I'll show you. A common problem in these trucks is that the evaporator does get plugged up, so it doesn't have a lot of airflow because they don't have a cabin air filter from the factory. Maybe there was a factory option, or maybe it's just an aftermarket option. Regardless, you can buy an aftermarket option that I'm probably gonna be putting on, not in this video. It gets plugged up and then the airflow does not flow very well. In the summertime, it's not too bad. The AC works pretty decent. In the wintertime, it just doesn't get hot enough. The truck warms up just fine, but it doesn't blow hot enough in here. And the other thing is that when you turn on, if we go to climate, put it on dash, we got the heat all the way up. Now if we crank this all the way, it's barely blowing out of here. The vents are not blowing that hard, but you can hear the blower motor blowing harder. And if you turn this all the way cold, I know it's not the blend door, because then you can feel it, it definitely changes colder and it starts getting real cold. So I don't think it's a blend door problem. I think what it is that evaporator core is just plugged up and restricting, because all the air has to flow through the evaporator core. Whether you're running the heater or the air conditioner, everything flows through the evaporator core. If that starts getting plugged up, and that's the first thing that it goes through once it sucks out from like the cabin or whatever, that's the first thing that goes through. It's right after the blower motor. So it's a common problem, those things get plugged up. So I think that's what the issue is. I'm gonna try to get this changed out and get us some heat, but I gotta play musical vehicles now because right now I got the Mega Cab parked in the street. So I'm gonna park it in the driveway where the silver truck is, and let's do that. Okay, look at this. Can you see this? It's been hiding under the floor mat. I got oil here. Look at all this oil. All right, I got oil coming down. Can you see this stain? This oil stain right here. I've been losing power steering fluid slowly over the last year and a half. I've had to put, I don't know, maybe a quart and a half of power steering fluid over the last year and a half, and I bet that's where it's leaking. It's probably leaking out of the brake booster or something for the Hydro Boost, coming through the firewall right there. I'm not 100% sure, but putting 2 and 2 together. Project for another day, even though I got it torn apart. Let's keep tearing this down. Forgot to disconnect this guy. And this one. Almost forgot to unplug this one. Okay. Now I think I got everything. Sucker should just pop down. Okay. There she is. This is where we gotta get to. We gotta pull this out. Get started on that. Okay. something that it didn't show in the Motor City Mechanics video that I had to do was pull this inner fender well, because one of the bolts, you can see it, is this one right here on the bottom. It's the one on the bottom of the coolant tank. I couldn't see any other way to get it besides just dropping that down. So now I should be able to. I did the 3 bolts on the inside here. I did the 2 bolts on the other side, plus the evaporator core bolt. So now we should be able to pull this out. Let's see if we can get it out of here. Camera. Okay, I still don't have it out yet. I've had to do a couple of things. I had to pull out this piece, bolted on right here, right? And it connected this hole right here. There's 3 Phillips screws I hooked it to that. I think that was keeping it tight. And then I pulled back the carpet, and this piece right here that was hooked into this, there's a little catch edge right here that's holding it on. I said to stick a screwdriver and pull that back. And now this thing feels a lot loose, it's still kind of tight, like it's still hanging up on something, but let's give it a tug. Let's see what. I still got the radiator hoses hooked on that I gotta undo, but it doesn't feel like it's necessarily the radiator hoses, it's something over here. That's really holding it up. Let's see if I can get it. Man, this thing is being a pain. Okay, I got it off the stud, but it's still hanging up. There's still two vent passages over here that go down to the floor, I think, on that side. I don't know if that's holding it up or not. I'm gonna try this again. Okay, the box is out. This is the top of it. That's the front. Yeah. But I want to show you one of the things that was hanging me up. Right here, this piece, this was basically glued to the firewall. I don't know if it had melted there or what, probably from the heat. But man, it was, I had to get in here with like a scraper and kind of chisel it off. I mean, I can't even, that stuff that's on the back of the firewall, man, it was stuck good. And once I got that broke free, then it broke free pretty good, and then it came off. It still took some jiggling to get it out, but looks like it's been leaking a little bit too. So it's a good thing I got a heater core and an evaporator. So let's get this torn apart and see what it looks like inside. Okay, she is torn apart. I just tore this piece off the end so I could get the evaporator out. The heater core just slides out the top. Heater core just slides out here. You undo. Oh, no, down here. This little thing. Bolts on. Heater core slides out. You can see where it was leaking in there. And then you have to split this apart. And I only broke 2 of these clips trying to get it apart. They break pretty easy. They're pretty brittle. And then there's the screws and the little metal clips to split this apart. I'm gonna blow this whole thing out. Let me show you what I got going on. Here's the heater cores. You can see that one was leaking there. Here's the new one. And then the evaporator. Definitely not as dirty as I thought it was gonna be, but there's definitely some restriction going on there. It's not working to its full potential the way it is. But do you know what else I figured out causing an issue? So I had checked, at least I thought I had, last year, the movement, and I could be getting this mixed up with the silver truck, but the movement of the blend door. So this is how it sits in the truck, like this. Okay, so this is the bottom. This is facing the dash, so it's facing you as you drive. This is the blend door, actuator right here, okay? And you can see the blend door right here. Now, I checked all the doors and actuators, and none of them seem broken. Like, I mean, that wiggles a little bit, but not much. It's right in the middle, but like the other two doors, there's a door there and there's a door there. You know, they're both tight. But what's weird to me is that this is right in the middle. Right in the middle here. Okay, so I pulled this actuator off to make sure that the door functions properly, and it does. It goes up and down just as easy. But I thought this actuator only went on one way, but it's splined. But on the door itself, it's splined all the way. On the actuator, if I'm remembering right, there's like a missing tooth, so you could index it, but there's no way to index it on this side. So you could have it be a tooth off. Now, unless when I turned the truck off, it was right in the middle, because I thought I had it cranked all the way to the heat. So it should be cranked all the way one way. So I'm wondering if this actuator is one tooth off, which could also be causing a problem of not getting enough heat. So I'm gonna double check that. Luckily, this is easy to get to. I'll check it when I get it all back together, but I'm assuming that this, I'm pretty sure I can get to this with it all back together. But once I start getting it back together, if it gets to a point, I'm gonna double check and make sure that this is actuating properly. And if I have to adjust that, I will. So let's get this all blown out and put back together. She back together. Got the heater core in here, right here. Got the evaporator put back in here. Got the two halves put back together. Now before I put the last box piece back on, this guy right here, it goes right here. And before I clip this back on, I am actually gonna cut it for a cabin air filter that goes right here. Now I don't have one yet. I should have bought one when I was prepping for this, but I didn't. So actually all you have to do is just cut this out. You can kind of see where this line is. And you don't have to cut those little notches. When the door fits in, there's little pieces that slide where those are. So if you just cut it to the bottom where this lip is, and you don't have to cut this piece out down here like that, you can just go straight across, just so the filter will slide in there. So I'm just gonna cut that with a razor blade real quick, and then we'll put it back together. There we go. I just did it with a razor blade, cut it. It kind of broke. It busted out in chunks coming out, but I cut it a little small, and then I just kind of shaved it to match. This kind of comes up a little bit. I was gonna draw a line, but I figure it'll be fine because I think the filter's smaller than this anyways. If I gotta trim a little more, I will, but okay. Okay, it has been a week since I changed the heater core and AC evaporator in this truck. And it has been a cold week, but it has been nice and toasty in my truck. It started getting dark that night when I was finishing up, and it started snowing, but we got it done. So I'm gonna run you through what I did to finish this up. What I did is, you saw that I had the air box on on my bench, and I made a cutout for the filter. So this is actually the filter kit that I ordered. I ordered it that next morning. Take a couple of days to get here. I'm gonna have a link to that, and I just got it off of Amazon. But if you can see in here, so this is the spot right here where the cutout is that this filter goes. So we're gonna put that in a second. But once I got the box all cleaned up, ready to go, I cleaned out the box the best I could. I used my air compressor to blow out everything. Hi!
Cat whistle.
All right, so I blew everything out the best I could with just some compressed air behind the dash, and then also inside the box and everything. Just tried to get it cleaned up the best I could, and then I also wiped the whole thing down with just some rags, and I almost said WD-40, some Windex. Just the back of the firewall, just as much dust as I could. I mean, I know it's gonna get dusty again, but I figure I'd get as much out of there best I could. and then just reverse procedure, bolted it back up. The hardest thing, honestly, is the heater core hoses. They were giving me the most trouble. So we got it bolted back on, and yeah, everything worked great. So I was thinking, because this is the actuator right here for the blend door, and it was halfway between hot and cold when I had the box out on the dash, and I thought maybe there was an issue there, that maybe this was off one tooth, but it's not. Right now it's on hot, so I'm going to change this to cold, and you can see how it moves right there all the way down. So no problems with the blend door. Let's turn this back hot. It goes right back up. Bam. Right where it's supposed to be. So the heater's working awesome. I assume, once I got it back together, I actually wasn't gonna charge the AC because it was getting so late. I started this project, for reference, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I didn't get done till midnight. I did take a break for dinner, putting the kids to bed, but it was a good 10 hours. So plan all day if you're gonna be doing this, but I wasn't gonna charge the AC because it was getting late and I didn't have time, but I decided to anyways, because I took it for a drive around the block once I got the heater working. And the defroster, if you don't know, that the defroster actually uses the AC to pull moisture out of the air to help with defrost and fogging up, and it was fogging up bad. I mean, it helps a little bit, but I'm like, I better just charge it real quick. So I pulled out. It didn't take too long. I don't have a AC machine, but I have gauges, a bottle, scale, all that stuff. So I hooked the gauges up. I pulled a vacuum on it. I pulled a vacuum on the system for about 10 minutes, and then it doesn't matter. I mean, maybe I'll do another video about charging the AC on another time, but it doesn't need to be running because it doesn't matter if it's running or not, I guess, when you're pulling a vacuum, because the AC is not going to run anyway, so if there's no pressure in it. But I pulled the vacuum on it for like 10 minutes, then I hooked the bottle up. There's a sticker underneath the dash. Let me see if I can find it. I'll actually show it to you in case you're curious on what the system requires. So where was it? Right here. 134A, 1.19 pounds, which on my scale is pounds and ounces, so that works out to be in 1 pound 3 ounces is what that requires. So then I put 1 pound 3 ounces into the low side. The truck does need to be running to do that. You put it through the low side, you open up the low side gate a little bit at a time till you get at 1 pound 3 ounces in the system. Seems to be working just fine. Obviously when summer rolls around, we'll see how well it really does. But let's pop this open and put this in, since we got it already cut for it. Okay, so here's our filter, and then here's the little cover that just snaps on. So what we're gonna do, this filter opened up. Now there's supposed to be, okay, right here, there's arrows that say which way it goes. It says down. You do want, because the air comes in, if it's pulling from the outside, then it's coming from the cowl up in here, up behind the hood. There's a vent right there. That's where the air comes in. If it's recirculating from inside the cab, it's still pulling from the top. This, I don't know if you can see it, but right now it's closed, that white accordion looking thing. If we hit this button to recirculate the air from the inside, you can see that opens up, and so it sucks air from inside the cab. And so the filter's right below that. So let me shine that light back up there. Let's see if we can slide this filter up in here. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. Oh, that's too high. Oh my goodness. I don't think that's in quite straight. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to mess with this for a second. All right, I got it. I was trying to put it in the wrong way. I thought the lettering would go on the front. Apparently it doesn't. Apparently it goes on the side. So the soft, flexible parts go on the front and the back, and the hard parts go on the left and the right side as you put that thing in. So there's that. And then this cover just snaps. Oh my goodness, I need more hands. Hold on a minute. Let's see if we can set you up right there, maybe. Holy cow, this thing's broken. Well, that's stupid. This ain't gonna work. I'm gonna have to send it back. If you look at this, this clip on this side is broken off, and this one isn't broken all the way off, but it's busted. Yep, that's lame. Alright, sending that back. But anyways, you get the idea. That's how it works. This piece goes on. We'll have to sort that out later. Bummer. Bummer. Maybe I should have got it from the dealership instead of Amazon. Just to recap on doing this heater and AC evaporator. Plan, like I said, plan. If you haven't done it before, plan a whole day to do it. Plan about 10 hours. I'm going to put a link to those videos by Motor City Mechanics. He's got a 4-part video that is awesome on taking this apart step by step, which bolts, which plugs to undo. I watched it before I did it, and then once I pulled everything apart on the dash, I breezed through it one more time just to make sure I had undone everything before I pulled the dash apart, so I wasn't fighting the dash. And I'm glad I did, because there was 1 or 2 plugs that I had missed. So that's a real good resource. I got no affiliation with that. It's just a good video I found on YouTube, so go check it out. Some things that he did not mention that I would add to that. Well, one he did, he said that heater core, I had mentioned it before, but he said that the box might stick to the back firewall. Mine definitely did. One of the tubes, I showed that earlier, on the heater core was like melted to the insulation on the back. I actually had to get in there with a razor knife and a scraper to kind of cut it away to be able to pull it off. The other thing is the heater hoses are a pain. They were a huge pain. So he mentioned pulling the heater box away from the firewall inside the truck and then undoing the clamps. I did that when I was pulling it apart. It was a pain, but it wasn't too bad. Then I got the heater box out. But then going back together, well, one other thing before you got that heater box out that he didn't mention, but to get to the bolts, some of the bolts, because there's a bolt underneath this, underneath the reservoir for the coolant. To get that, you would either have to pull the battery, or what I did is I pulled this inner wheel well right here, and I was able to access that. So that made it super easy. I would recommend pulling the inner wheel well. It's just got a couple of clips, couple of bolts. It comes out pretty easy. So that's something I would add. Something else that I would add to doing this project is I would also pull this front right tire. I'd put a jack on it, put a jack stand under that, pull that front tire, because when you pull the wheel well, you can get up there, get the bolts pretty easy. But going back together, I actually put the heater hoses back on through the wheel well, but I was kind of doing one of these where I was laying on the tire with my hand up in there trying to put the heater hoses back on, and if I had just pulled the tire off, I could have had both hands up in there and able to get those heater hoses back on. And I don't know why, I hate those little spring clamps. Let's see if I can see one here. Like these right here, these little spring clamps. I know they got a tool for it that makes it easier. I don't have the tool, but if you're just using channel locks or something, man, I hate those things so bad. They're such a pain to get on and off. I would just ditch those and put regular hose clamps on the heater core. I think that would have made it way easier, because that's what I was fighting big time, was putting those back on with one hand, reaching it up through the fender well. So I would have just pulled those off, put regular hose clamps, done it through the wheel well to put those heater hose lines back on, because you can't get to them from the top, because you got, I mean, my hands, I tried loosening the dipstick tube right here for the transmission to give me more room, but with this EGR emissions crap that they got on there, there's just not a lot of room to get up in there unless you got small hands. So going from the bottom was the best bet. Those would be my recommendations. If doing this project, it was 100% worth it, even though I was up till midnight getting it done, charging the AC, and had to get up super early for work the next morning. The next 4 days of work were so nice because it was so cold and it snowed 2 of the days. To have that heater and defroster, man, working so good. It was awesome. Normally, this heated seat going, I got the heated steering wheel going, and I'm still freezing by the time I get to work. But now, 5 minutes into the drive, I'm turning the heated steering wheel off. You know, halfway through the drive, I'm turning the heater down because it's getting so toasty warm in there. It was awesome, worth it, 100%. If you're doing this project, it really wasn't that bad. Like I said, I hope this video helps. If it does, man, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe. If not, until the next one, go build something cool. Later. All right, that looks better. There we go. All closed up.